For this first problem, we had the scenario: a caterer charges $120 for a party of 15 people and $200 for 25 people. So $120 for 15 people, and then we have $200 for 25 people. Then it says write a linear equation to represent the scenario. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to determine which is the independent variable and which is the dependent variable, so I write my points correctly. So I kind of think about which one is dependent on the other one. Is the cost depending on how many people are going, or is how many people going depending on the cost? And so if you heard those sentences out loud, you could probably say that the cost is dependent on how many people are going. So the more people going, the more expensive the price is going to be. And so that means that the dependent variable is the money. The independent variable is the number of people. And so now we want to use this to write our points. An independent variable comes first, that's our x value. And the dependent variable comes second, that's our y value. So our 2 points for the first one is 15, 120. And the second one is 25, 200. So I think that's one of the harder pieces, is being able to differentiate which is the independent and which is the dependent, and then ordering them from there. And so I always think about like trying to talk it out in my own head. And so I'm like, does the cost depend on the people, or do the people depend on the cost? And think about that in the real scenario. If you were going to an event that was catered, catering would cost more money than more people that are there. However, we don't decide the number of people who are coming to an event based on the cost of catering. So now what we want to do is we want to find M and we want to find B. Those are the two things that we need. We need M and we need B. And so in order to find M, we want to use our slope formula. And I'm going to label x1, y1, x2, y2. And we can plug them into our formula. So we have y2 is 200 minus y1 is 120 over x2 is 25 minus x1 is 15. So the slope formula is something that we've been practicing for a few weeks now, and so this is one of the formulas you'll need to memorize this year, and so you can use this pretty effectively. So 200 minus 120 is 80. 25 minus 15 is 10. And then we want to see if we can divide this. 80 divided by 10. And I know that 80 divided by 10, we can cross out those zeros. 8 divided by 1 is 8. And so M is 8. M equals 8. And I'm going to put that in a little cloud because that is important. I need that for my formula. Now the other thing that I need for my formula is B. And so to find B, we want to use y equals mx plus b. And so you need to know like what formula you use for which one. This formula is the slope formula. This is what we do when we find slope. This next part is what we do when we find the y-intercept, and we use y equals mx plus b to do that. And so in this case, we want to plug in our y, our m, and our x, and we can use either this point or this one. It doesn't matter. I'm going to use the one on the right, just because I think that those numbers are easier to deal with. So y is 200. M is what I just found, so 8. X is 25. And then we don't know b. So the first thing that we want to do is when we see parentheses, we want to distribute. So 8 times 25 I think I know what that is, but I just want to double check in my calculator. Okay, so 8 times 25 is 200. And then we want to go ahead and get rid of this 200. And we look at what's in front. If this is positive, we subtract. If it's negative, we add. So since this is a positive 200, we subtract. And we get 0 equals B. 0 is still a number, so don't get nervous. That's okay. But put this in a cloud. That's the second piece that you want. So we have M, we have B. Now we are ready to write our equation. So our equation is y equals 8x plus 0. And this 0 doesn't really add anything to us, so we can just switch it to y equals 8x. So either one of those is the correct answer.